Thank you for tuning in to our Free West YouTube channel. And please subscribe so that you can get notifications of our future videos on this channel. Now, currently, of course, the whole planet is going slightly crazy with all the riots going on in the US and spreading all over the world. In fact, yesterday, I exchanged a couple of emails with somebody in the United States, and then he apologized for not being able to reply earlier because he said that our country is burning. Now, not only is the United States burning, several cities after the decease of a drug-dealing porn star called George Floyd, who happened to expire on the street of Minneapolis with the knee of a white policeman on his neck. I suppose we'll never really find out what happened there because the media have already tried Mr. Derek Chauvin and found him guilty of second-degree murder. By now, they're probably going to up the charge to first-degree murder soon. But now, our current story is about Stockholm, which is pretty far removed from Minneapolis. And until now, race riots have not, or at least where African Americans are involved, or Africans, have not really been, a factor in Sweden. But things are certainly, the times they are changing, as Bob Dylan would say. So, over the past few days, there was a race demonstration in the middle of Corona-affected Stockholm. In fact, the authorities or the municipality authorized a small protest for 50 people, but between 1,000 and 2,000 protesters arrived to express their anger at racism and US police violence. This took place on Sergels Torg, or Sergels Square, in the middle of the city. The hospital staff in the city, who are struggling to save the lives of the COVID-19 infected patients, expressed alarm after thousands of people, as a result, violated the existing safe distance regulations. Now, it so happens that Sweden is the Scandinavian country with by far the most deaths as a result of coronavirus, because the authorities opted in their wisdom to go for what they called herd immunity. So they actually encouraged their population to get themselves affected in order to become immune to the virus. But of course, this has not happened, and a lot of, especially elderly people, have died in Sweden. During one part of the demonstration, a female police officer, and this photo did the rounds of the planet, kneeled in front of the protesters, taking a knee, so-called, as a symbol of her racial submission and an expression of her white guilt. Now, at the same time this week, several other protests took place in the United Kingdom, in France and Germany, and many of them were marked by violent confrontations with the police, and Sweden in this case was no exception. Paradoxically, however, the majority of protesters were young white women. Sweden is a place run by feminists. They've got a majority female cabinet, and the country has declared itself to be the only one in the world with a feminist foreign policy, whatever that might mean. Although these same feminists are quite fond of wearing the hijab when they visit Arab countries, for example. But before the demonstration in Stockholm was officially launched at 6 p.m., the police called on the crowd to disperse, but they were ignored and insulted. After that, the protest was dispersed by the police, but people began to leave Sergel Square and they marched on another square called St. Eriksplan or St. Erik's Square in Vasarstan. There the mood became violent and a police car was surrounded by angry protesters. Now, this was the scene where, you know, your stereotypical blonde Swedish woman, who happened to be a policewoman, took a knee to calm down the protesters. Afterwards, she could be seen crying and hugging some of the protesters. I think the one person that she was hugging was actually also wearing a hijab. You know, the hijab is now a kind of a fashion item in Stockholm. And a number of other violent incidents were also recorded during the day and evening. According to information published in the Aftonbladet newspaper, a shopping mall had to be closed down due to fear of rioting, as some people tried to storm the complex. Because, you know, together with anti-racism protests, there's always looting. We know that in South Africa and in the US, they've got a lot of experience of that. And it seems that this almost happened in Sweden too. At T Central, police used batons and pepper spray against protesters who threw bottles and stones at the officers. 2 people were injured and taken to hospital. It's not yet clear if they were police officers or protesters that had been injured. A person has also been arrested on suspicion of instigating a violent riot at Brunkeberg's Torg, where he threw objects at police and guards reported, and this was reported in the Expressen, according to a police spokesman by the name of Mats Eriksson. Other clashes between police and protesters took place near Stockholm Castle, where left-wing extremists, kind of Antifa type of people, and immigrant men tried to attack the police on the spot, but they were chased away by means of baton charges. Some of the protesters were pepper sprayed. According to reports, the police had rocks and bottles thrown at them during the demonstration. But no attempts were made to disperse the protesters, because this is tolerant Sweden, where they import immigrants, and get their women to wear the hijab and so on. But according to a professor of infectious diseases, Björn Olsen, in the Expressen newspaper, he said the following: "Of course, we can all think that what is happening in the US is bad, but to approve a demonstration where you know that the dynamics are such that there will be a very large number of people in a limited area, then one wonders if anyone has holes in their heads." He also added that this was an extremely effective way of spreading the infection. This demonstration might just lead to a mass outbreak of COVID-19 in Sweden. And one of the nurses quoted during a live broadcast of the demonstration by the Aftonbladet newspaper, she said, "As a nurse in the COVID department, this feels like a slap in the face, considering the current situation. How many more patients may we need to nurse now?" Well, that's our report on what's going on in Stockholm, also getting crazier by the day. Please don't forget to subscribe to the Free West Media YouTube channel, and we'll soon be uploading some more interesting commentary and reports by means of video. Goodbye.